Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. I got 6 clips for you guys. Now we're starting with Joe Rogan, of course. Joe Rogan and Brett Weinstein are talking about Trump. And Brett Weinstein, he's critical of Trump in some ways that I'm going to address. I also have some clips of Trump that address his worries, but also he understands that whatever is at work in the Democratic Party needs to be done away with. So he's in this very rational position, but he has some things to say about Trump. You guys already know my bias. I'm straight up about it, okay? I like Trump. I want to see him as president. I'm going to be defending him, okay? But also, we're going to have some other clips. We're going to have Patrick Bet-David. He has Michael Rappaport on his show. I don't know if you know about Michael Rappaport, but he's always been so against Trump. Video after video after video since the day Trump got elected. But he's changed his mind because he's got a little taste. He's gotten a little taste of what Biden's all about. So now he's changed his mind, but he's still going to talk about the things that made him dislike Trump. Then Patrick Bet-David himself is going to address what Michael Rappaport says, and he goes into a pretty heavy defense of Trump as well. Then we got Tucker Carlson speaking about Trump and what he thinks his fate is. Then we have Trump speaking about team building, and then we have Trump giving a message to Joe Biden. Let's get into it, guys. Don't forget about IamCoachColin.com. We got different variations of Sold Not For Sale. The one I'm wearing right now. We got new ones. We got the original. We got Public Enemy #1, mainstream media, anti-mainstream media, we the people. We have all sorts of stuff. Discount code is IamCoachColin, all capital letters, all one word, 1 L in the name Colin. Let's start it off with Rogan. Let's go.
In the Darien of Panama. Which we'll come back to in a second. Okay. But just let me say that the problem is the folks who have been loyal Democrats who will vote blue no matter who need to wake up. That party has been captured by something that is not interested in the well-being of the country, of the West, of the citizens. It is time for them to go. They have to leave. The idea that Newsom is going to be swapped in and because he's not senile, he stands a chance of winning is, it couldn't be more troubling. Now, personally, I think RFK Jr. is the solution to this problem. I don't know that anybody can solve the problem of the capture.
Can he win?
Yeah.
Is there a pathway that he could become the president?
Yep. There are multiple pathways. That said, do I expect it to go that way? I think we all need to start thinking differently. I think we need to recognize that the capture of our system is such a profound threat to the well-being of the country, to the future of our kids and grandkids, that whatever needs to happen for us to come together and usher those people out in favor of something that is at least just not part of that plan has to happen, right? So as far as I'm concerned, the best shot we've got is Bobby Kennedy. Bobby Kennedy is highly intelligent. I think he is deeply patriotic. And I know from interacting with him and watching what he's said that he's also courageous, right? I don't want to overemphasize this, but he is literally willing to die to take a shot at saving the country. And I think we need to get behind that.
And if anybody has real thought that they might be killed, it's a guy whose father and uncle were killed.
Right.
Because of doing the exact same thing.
Well, I was in the audience at Freedom Fest, which is a libertarian festival. It was in Memphis. And I'm no libertarian, but I felt very welcome there. I gave a talk. Bobby Kennedy also showed up and gave a talk. And it was attended by pretty much everybody. And the talk was very well received, even though Bobby Kennedy is also no libertarian. But the last thing he said in that talk was that everybody there knows that there are fates far worse than death. And I believe that he was speaking absolutely from his heart. And he was telling you that he knew he was taking this risk, but that somebody had to take it on our behalf, and he was stepping up. So to my way of thinking, that's the best shot we've got. And I really feel like the story, his origin story, makes this like Odysseus returning to the manor, right? Stringing the bow, that this is that iconic moment. And I wish I was certain that once in office, Bobby Kennedy had the power and the insight to get rid of the people who have captured our system, but I'm not sure anybody does. I think he's the best chance, but it may be that the control is too elaborate.
Isn't it wild that you would have never thought this 4 years ago? You would
Well,
have never thought the system was this fucked?
You know, the funny thing is I do think it's way more screwed up than I knew 4 years ago. But even 4 years ago, I knew it was bad enough that
I was suspicious.
It was an emergency.
I was suspicious, but I wasn't convinced. I
Well,
thought they were mostly good people, and they get fucked over by this weird system, and you become part of it, and you have to play ball. I didn't think it went as deep as it does.
I mean, I keep seeing that it goes deeper, but 4 years ago, even 10 years ago, I knew that we were dealing with out-of-control capture and that this was it was anti-democratic in the most fundamental way. But anyway, the final point I want to make is I think Bobby Kennedy is the right way to solve this. He's got a few positions that throw people who would otherwise be on board with him, and I totally get their concerns. I really do. I hope that Kennedy will think about that and address them so that people are aware of what he is and isn't about. But if Kennedy can't make it, I still think we have to line up behind some solution that ushers these people out of office, because the capture it's a fatal pathology if we don't address it.
Who can do it? Do you think Donald Trump can have any impact on that?
Yeah.
Or do you think he can?
Well, let's put it this way. He has demonstrated that he has the capability to win. I'm very compelled that he is not part of whatever that cabal is.
Clearly.
The cabal really doesn't like him.
Clearly. Could be no more evidence.
Right. What I don't think, the reasons that I think it's Kennedy and not Trump in terms of our best shot is that Kennedy is he is a brilliant thinker, and he is encyclopedic in his knowledge, and to whatever extent that this is a difficult problem, he's the guy who understands how you address difficult problems, and he will gather the right people, and he will figure out what the best approach is. Whether there's any approach that's plausible, I don't know, but I'm convinced that he will address it seriously. Trump, he only has 4 years to accomplish the job. Kennedy might have 8 to accomplish the job. He doesn't have the temperament. I think that this is maybe the most critical problem with Trump, is that Trump has the temperament to win the office, but he doesn't have the temperament to address the nuances of the problems. You know, he got played during COVID, and he still doesn't see it. Right? That's a problem. That has to do with him being ego-driven and unable to admit that, how was he not going to get played? Right? He's not an expert, and he had lots of experts conspiring to lead him to believe things that weren't true. I think it would be, everybody would understand.
Also, politically, the people that support the vaccine are clearly on the left. When he comes out and says the vaccine is great, I got the vaccine, we got that vaccine out, he's taking credit for something that these people on the left have already unanimously agreed was a net positive thing. And I've had some wild conversations with really brilliant, intelligent people where I know they're saying nonsense about the effectiveness of the vaccine and the dangers of the vaccine. And I go like, this is a crazy conversation I'm having with you. Like, you're not even willing to consider it because it's an ideological thing. You got locked into it. So he's playing on that by supporting the vaccine as well. You have to think, like, if you're looking at a guy who's trying to gather points and armor in a game of fucking, World of Warcraft or something, like, you'd pick that armor up. Like, hey, here's my vaccine. I fucking made that vaccine.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the wrong temperament for the job.
But it's the right temperament to get into office, right?
Politically, the man is brilliant.
And also, like, he is so polarizing that even though so many people support him and he can win, the people that hate him so much that it's like, God damn, do we really want that sentiment in our society? Do we want more division? And would that encourage, or is it possible that he could have some sort of come to Jesus moment in front of the country, and it would unite people in a way that would realize, you're already seeing a lot of people in the black community that have turned towards Trump because they're seeing what's going on with this immigration and how it's affecting them, and the fact that these people that are coming in that are illegal immigrants are getting so much aid that they're not getting. And they're like, this is fucking crazy. This is our community, and you're having these people come in, you're giving them food and money and shelter, and you won't do it for us, and we've been here forever, and we're Americans. This is crazy. And then there's a lot of people that, like even Michael Rappaport, because of the way things are going in the world, is saying that, and he fucking hates Trump, and he talks wild shit about Trump. Even he's saying that first of all, that's not off the table, and that now that's the only solution.
Well, I don't think we're there yet, but I don't think on the basis of the time he would have, his temperament, or his ability to build a team. Trump is kind of a one-man show, and his team-building ability, I don't think, is enough to solve the problem either. But the punchline of that is, if Kennedy can't do it, for whatever reason, if politics gets in the way, we still have to get whatever that cabal is out of power immediately. This could not be more of an emergency. We've seen through COVID how dangerous these people are, how little they care about our well-being, and we have to rally around whatever it is that addresses this problem. And, as much as I'm not a believer that Trump on his own can do the job, I would far prefer him to another standard bearer of that cabal. The cabal is too dangerous. And I say this, as you know, I'm a lifelong Democrat, right? This is my party that I'm telling you cannot be trusted with governance. But that's where we are.
So, Brett's had some things to say there. I don't know, but I shouldn't say I don't know that I don't agree with him. I don't agree with him. I really do think that RFK is going to be more of the same. After hearing him talk, at first it was, guns a-blazing, full steam ahead, and I liked a lot of things he was saying about central bank digital currencies and, medicine. He had a lot of great things to say, but as he started going through, just like DeSantis, as he started going through the campaign and everything, you started hearing things. Like with DeSantis, I would hear certain things, I'd be like, oh. You start realizing, this person doesn't have the mettle to even go through this. And it seems like with RFK that if he got into office, because he is a lifelong Democrat and because he is trying to running on, bringing people together. He wants to bring everyone together, which is great. I think because of that, he will work with the bad actors that are currently in play. And I think that would destroy him. The thing about Trump is he's already faced that. He's already known who the bad actors are, thought he had good people on his team, learned that lesson, and now is coming in with a completely different game plan, knows exactly who he can and can't trust, and knows what he has to get done. Kennedy, on the other hand, I don't know. I've heard all sorts of things when it comes to gun control, and just there's certain things where he's a little too open, He's like, well, if there's a consensus about certain things, then, of course I would go with it. I think he said something in the range of gun control, something of that nature. But either way, it feels like it's going to be more of the same with him. I don't know. He's a little too respectful of the bad actors, in my opinion. So, but here, just to address some things, we're talking about someone risking their life. RFK has a legacy of danger, but Trump is way more in danger than RFK. In the polls, in the media, they're just like, yeah, RFK. Nah. With Trump, they're focusing on him. They're really focusing on him to the tune of, trying to make him face hundreds of years in prison. You know what I mean? $355 million fines and all of this nonsense. They're literally trying to make him go broke, damage his bank account, damage his character. And the next step would be going after his actual life. So I think Trump is in way more danger. So I get it that it sounds noble when RFK says there's things that are far worse than death. Trump is exhibiting that. He's already ran and won, ran again, lost. Now he's coming back. He's showing them he will not stop. That puts you in more danger, in my opinion, than just saying there are things far worse than death. It's like, yes, he has the legacy of danger. I understand completely. But Trump is in current danger. I don't think RFK is in all that much danger, to be honest with you. But that's just me. Let's move on. We're going to hear Michael Rappaport. What else did I have to say quickly? Oh, and then in regards to the temperament. Oh, just really quick. Because Brett had nothing to say, because Brett brought up the fact that Trump made the vaccine and that he got played and blah, blah, blah. And then Joe's like, well, you would pick that up if you're trying to pick up points. He's like, it's a political strategy. And then Brett just goes, doesn't have the right temperament. What are you talking about? He actually has the perfect temperament. Trump, this is going to sound weird, Trump's disrespect is his superpower. It's the thing that makes all of us say, that's our guy. The fact that he disrespects everybody, left and right. That is his superpower. The fact that he'll go into a situation and say, I don't care what you have to say. I don't care what you have to say. I don't care what you have to say. This is what we're doing. The only person I'll ask my opinion of is a general. Give me some options, general. Go with this one. I don't care if you don't like that option. I'm the president. I want to do. The fact that he's like that is a superpower, because that's how a leader is supposed to be. So I don't know what Brett thinks. Maybe he thinks he's supposed to be more scholarly. Maybe he thinks Obama had the right temperament. I have no idea, but his argument did not stand up. He had really nothing to back up that argument. I think he just really loves RFK, which is cool. I get that completely, man. Let's hear Trump. He's going to talk a little bit about, are we going with Trump? Yeah. Let's go with Trump first. Talking about team building, because that's something that Brett brought up. The fact that he doesn't know how to build a team. And I argue that point. Let's go.
You faced a lot of internal opposition in your first term. Individuals who you believed really didn't have your same agenda, were not advancing your agenda, whether it was pulling troops out of foreign countries or other programs. So how would you guard against that in a second term? And would there be any people you would pull back from your former term in office who you might bring back to the cabinet?
We had a lot of great people. Lighthizer. There were so many, because you talk about our trade. We would just kill it on our trade. We had a lot of great people. I won't mention, but I could mention 20 names just right off the cuff. But we also had some that I wouldn't have used. The difference is, when I was elected, I was in Washington 17 times in my entire life, and I never stayed over. I wasn't a Washington person. So I had to rely on, in some cases, rhinos. In some cases, well-meaning rhinos, but they were recommending people. And some of the people I had, I wouldn't have used again. And now I know everybody. I know the good ones, the weak ones, the strong ones, the incompetent ones, the very smart ones that people don't know how smart they are. Those are the ones we like the best. But the fact is, I know the people now really well. Because, I won. I was a businessman. If you ever look at the charts, 92% of the people that became president were politicians. The other 8% were generals. So I was neither of them.
Could you work with Mitch McConnell if he's still in office? Obviously, you've butted heads, have different views on a lot of issues. But could you work with him in a new term if he was still in the Senate and still had a leadership position?
A lot of his so-called people have endorsed me, as you know, over the last little while. A lot of them have. Tremendous people like Steve Daines is a great guy. And actually, John Cornyn gave me an endorsement, which shocked the hell out of me, to be honest with you. But I was endorsed by a lot of people, and almost getting close to the entire Senate. He'll probably end up endorsing me also. I don't know that I can work with him. He gave away trillions of dollars that he didn't have to, trillions of dollars. He made it very easy for the Democrats. When I wanted to build a wall, I ended up building the wall. You know what I did? I took it out of the military. I said, this is an invasion of our country. That's how I built the wall. I said, this is an invasion. I'm taking it out of the military because you couldn't get it out of Congress. So I don't know what his status would be. I think he probably at some point will pull over if I win.
Now, you're getting slammed from some of your...
So, the reason I play that clip is because he's basically talking about team building, and that was something that Brett said he doesn't know how to do. And I think Brett's taking a snapshot of where Trump was when he was in office. And he's not factoring in the fact that this guy's a billionaire. Not just that, he's a leader. He knows how to build companies. And if he messes up, he's going to learn from it. Like, Brett's not factoring in the learning from your mistakes factor. And that's why I play that clip, because Trump is saying, he's like, I know who the weak ones are. Notice that. Not I know who's bad, I know who's good. I know who's good, I know who's smart, I know who's weak. Because he had some weak people around him. Those people that were around him that made him believe things that weren't necessarily true because he wasn't in Washington, as he said, those are weak people. Those are people giving into the money, giving into the whole, you know how things work in politics. They were giving into that instead of staying strong. So now that he knows, I think he's going to do way better when it comes to team building. Way better. I think it's going to be a dramatic change that Brett is not going to be ready for when he sees it. Because I am of the thinking he is going to win. I don't really see another pathway unless what Joe Rogan keeps bringing up, which is Gavin Newsom, unless that happens. But even then, there's so many people who look at California and go, like, he would have to fix California first. He would have to fix it and make it look amazing. You can't just have it all disheveled and be like, look at this. I did great. Can I run the country? It's like, no. Are you crazy? No, of course you can't. Jeez. You can't even clean up tents. You think you're going to clean up a country? Are you crazy? So I don't think that's going to happen. We'll see. But either way, we're moving on to Michael Rappaport. He's talking about why he doesn't like Trump. And I just, I go on all this. It's so hard to find positive videos about Trump. You know what I mean? When you're going on looking for them, the bad ones always come up first. You got to go down a little bit to actually find something that's more embracing of him. But in this, it's a little bit of both. It's the criticism, but then also people disputing the criticisms, right? Myself towards Brett Weinstein, and then Michael Rappaport is going to get rebutted by Patrick Bet-David. So just watch this clip of Michael Rappaport coming around on Trump.
The thing about Trump that's the hardest, amongst other things, the hardest for me and a lot of people to get past, along with the list, but the top, is the way he conducts himself as a president. And some people say, well, Mike Rapp, you talk shit. I'm not the president of the United States.
Totally.
And the insulting people, I don't know a thing about McCain. I don't know anything about his politics, but I know he served this country and he was went through what he went through. For somebody like Trump, who is a draft dodger, somebody like Trump to insult him and give him a nickname and say he prefers his war heroes not to be captured, to me is the antithesis, and that's a big word. I'm using it just because I'm here with you, Pat. It's a big word for me. That's the antithesis of anything presidential. And I'm a shit talker and all that stuff. But the nicknames and the disrespect for the fact that you're the president time and time after, again, to me is the thing that's hardest for me to get by because it's representative of everything in this country. He's the representative of us in the country. I know also his bark is bigger than his bite, but being the president, that's an extremely loud bark.
His bark is bigger than his bite.
I think he says a lot more than he does. I think his policies warrant a lot of his policies that he did while he was in office. I like. I think he did do things that were good for the country, but the spillage, the messiness, the antagonistic behavior, behavior towards anybody, whether they worked with him or not, but the people that worked with him. Once he feels betrayed, once he feels insulted, to just attack, insult in the most disrespectful, embarrassing way is just, to me, is not acceptable as a president.
Yeah,
to me.
And so then that means you're a Biden guy.
That doesn't mean anything.
So then would you still vote for him? Would you still vote for Trump?
No. Well, I didn't vote for Trump. You mean would I still vote for Biden?
2024, would you vote for Trump this year? Would you consider it?
Yeah. Well, I said the other day that voting for Donald Trump is on the table. I mean that. Yeah.
I saw. And by the way, 50 Cent said that with the whole $53 million credit card, New York, Mayor Adams, what they're doing, all the immigrants. But let me.
It is on the table.
Big Mike. Everybody's saying it. Everybody's changing.
Then you think Killer Mike or
Killer Mike?
Big
Killer
Mike.
Mike.
So let me kind of give you.
So I want to hear your stuff.
Yeah, perfect. Let's talk about it.
So, if you didn't notice in the clips where it goes to all of them, like I have it sitting right now, everything that Michael Rappaport was saying, Patrick Bet-David is writing down. So he's writing down point form notes of what he didn't like, and he's going to rebuttal it. But I just have to go back to what I said because Michael Rappaport was bringing it up about insulting people. Trump's disrespect is his superpower. It's a superpower that got him elected. It's what made people shake away. I've brought up this example before because I'm a comedian. When you're in a comedy club and you see comedians doing their thing, it's like, wow, look at them all doing their thing. It's like, I can't believe what they're doing. They're all funny. It's great. When you see a comedian get heckled, and there's two type of guys that handle heckling. One guy turns right to that person and he goes in. And it's the best thing you could possibly see. You're like, oh, thank God that guy got too drunk. Thank God this comedian's just going after him like this. And it's a highlight because it's just for you. It was off the cuff and you loved it, right? Then there's other people who handle hecklers. And somebody will heckle them and they'll just go, huh? What? And they'll just try and go on with their bit. Hey, buddy, can you just be quiet, please? And they can't handle it. The sweat starts. They get red. When Trump started insulting politicians, you saw that they were that type of comedian that can't handle the heckles. They can't cope with it. They can't deal with it. They don't know what to say back. What's all this off the cuff stuff happening? I thought we all had teleprompters. Aren't we all just reading off cue cards? What's this guy? Where's this coming from? They couldn't handle it. It was a superpower. It shook people awake. They were like, oh, these guys aren't ready. And then you're hearing Trump insult people. I don't know. I think that's a good thing. Because here's another thing. It's kind of what everybody wanted. There's a large part of the population, left and right, who would love to insult politicians, left and right. There's people on the left that would love to be in front of Trump and say what they feel. And there's people on the right who would love to be in front of Biden or any AOC, Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi. They would love to just have 3 seconds in front of them just so they could say what they want to say. So when Trump started insulting these people, you've kind of felt like you're vicariously getting your little bit of time. You're like, yeah, lock her up. I'm so glad she can hear someone saying it. I've been thinking that for so long. You know what I mean? So I think it's just a superpower. And I'll just say about what Michael Rappaport said when he talked about the fact that he would call out and disrespect or attack people that he didn't work with, that were against him, and people that he did work with. I would say that's pretty good. That means he's calling out people across the board. That means if you're on his side and you do something he thinks is messed up, he's going to call it out. And if you're against him and you do something, he's going to call you out. That sounds pretty fair to me. That's kind of what I want. That's kind of like, those are kind of the people that you like around. You know, those people who are just straight up with everybody? They don't play favorites. I like that. I'm just saying. Just bringing that up real quick. Now let's hear what Patrick Bet-David has to say towards everything Michael Rappaport was saying. And keep in mind, even with Brett Weinstein, at the end of it, he made sure to say, if I can't have what I want because he wants RFK, then Trump is much better. That's what I want then. Michael Rappaport, same thing. Same thing. He's like, it's not off the table. He's like, I don't see another way. So he's willing to vote for Trump. I think that is going to sweep through New York like you wouldn't believe. I said it before in the last video I did. I think what's happening with the immigration crisis in New York is what's going to make every single person in New York, when they start feeling it, when it's outside of their doorstep, they're going to be like, which one of these candidates wants to do a mass deportation? Okay. And I don't have to tell anyone who I voted for? Okay. I think it's going to sweep through like crazy. Anyway, let's get to Patrick Bet-David. He's going to address everything that Michael Rappaport just said. Let's go.
So, yeah, I'm totally with him. I'm not that guy. Mm-hmm. I actually wasn't for that, and I openly talked about, you don't have to say that. So Ulysses at New York. For the longest time in U.S., they used to talk about the fact that America can't handle a New York president because you're New York. Look how loud you are. He's New York. You know what feedback Tom gave to him 2 days ago? We don't always have to be loud.
What do you mean?
Tom's not from New York.
He made a note today, Mike. He's like, you be calm. You tell him, what the fuck, what do you mean?
Tom is a very
Canada.
different life. But guess what New York is? Loud, tough, competitive, calling out. So America got a New York president because that's who they wanted.
Young.
And then what's the last one that you said? Bigger than bite. Here's what I will tell you.
What did I say? What? His bite. Bark is bigger than his bite.
Bark is bigger than his bite. So the thing with Trump too, when I was with Bill Maher, and I'm asking this question, and this whole idea, oh my God, this guy's going to get elected. And let me tell you what he's going to be doing. If he gets elected, it's going to be World War III. Do you want that man to have access to the nuclear button and all this other stuff? Bro.
You're talking about just with Bill Maher?
I was with Bill Maher last week,
right, okay.
and we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
And I said in 2016, all the left ever said is the fact that this guy's going to start a nuclear war. That's what he's going to do. Guess what happened? He goes, there is no war. Mm-hmm. ISIS disappears. Mm-hmm. The last time you said ISIS was under Obama. Mm-hmm. We haven't said ISIS for a while. So economy's doing great. Everything's great. Then we have COVID 2.5 years later. Then they blame it all on him. He creates Operation Warp Speed. Kamala Harris and those guys said they would never take the vaccine while Trump was coming out with it. But guess what those pharmaceutical companies did? You know when the vaccine comes out? 2 days after the election. So if it would have come out before, Trump probably would have had a chance of winning, but it comes out 2 days after. Why? You don't think somebody behind closed doors said come out 2 days after the election?
100%.
100% they did. So the gamesmanship of how much they hated this guy because he's a shit talker. He talks so much shit, it's constant, but that's him. That's his profile. You are not going to change him. You're 53. You said you're going to be 54 in March, right? So March 20, you're going to be 54. Okay. So how much do you think somebody can change you today at this phase of your life with your personality?
Shifts.
Okay.
You could bend a little bit.
Subtle, bro. And that's not going to be that dramatic,
Yes.
right? It's going to be subtle. If somebody was going to do anything to us, maybe at 11, maybe 15, maybe 18, no one's going to change Trump. So all of those things of people that used to ask and said, if only he could be like this, let me just simplify it for you. He's not going to
Absolutely not.
period. But if you like no war, if you like a great economy, if you like unemployment that was low for African Americans, they're making more money than ever before. If you want data and all that stuff was good, then great, go this side. If you want a messy world that we have right now, Russia, Ukraine, where we're giving another they're calling it a border bill.
Bullshit.
Out of $118 billion, $60 billion to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Don't call it a border bill. He would have actually addressed those things. That's simple it is for me. But by the way, never spoken to him. I've never met him. I've never broke bread. I don't
Never
have
met him at all.
I've seen him speak, but we've never had interaction for there to be a loyalty. There is no relationship loyalty. It's policy loyalty. Before we get into it, so
Love that he broke that last part down real quick, that is policy loyalty, just based on what you're seeing. One thing that he brought up that Michael Rappaport was bringing up as well, you know, the whole thing about being presidential. Brett Weinstein was bringing that up too through temperament. When people say that, are you looking for the exact same thing that there's always been? That you're looking for the thing that you've been complaining about for decades? I just don't get that. I think he's very presidential. People, the country that you represent, you are supposed to be the embodiment of that country. I don't see, I love Texas. I think it's the greatest state, hands down, especially with how New York has been behaving since 2019. New York is out of control, just been so delinquent. It's so terrible. But I love Texas. I love that way of life. I love it. But when you're talking about the president, it's going to be a guy from New York who talks shit, who's very blunt, who's a billionaire, who used to date supermodels, who's in real estate, who puts his name on big jets and big buildings. That's going to be that guy is the most presidential person you could have. Besides my own plan, I always talk about if I ruled the world, it would be like an electrician. I'd be like, this electrician named Mark is now the president. Get in there, Mark. It's like jury duty. You gotta be the president for 4 years. That's how I would do it. But besides that unknown character, Trump is the most presidential person, in my opinion. I don't think that they're supposed to be smooth talking and completely fake and soothing whenever they speak on a microphone. I don't think they're supposed to be like that. I think they're supposed to be very upfront. I think they're supposed to disrespect people they work with and people they don't work with. If they feel like something has been done wrong, I feel like that is how it's exactly the way Trump is exactly the way a president's supposed to handle themselves. Look at what's happening currently. Look at what you have currently. You have somebody who barely even speaks. like we're talking about presidential. Like, are people reading Biden as presidential? And it's like, yeah, Obama, he was presidential, but he was the kind of presidential where he's almost like what a Gavin Newsom would be, where it's like, yeah, he's gonna say the right things, and he's gonna look real nice in his suit, and he's gonna make people laugh a couple times. But then when he goes behind closed doors or he goes to other countries, he's not going to make much change for the American people. And if that's your read of presidential, you're wrong. Presidential is the person who handles business. The person who looks at deals abroad and says, that's not in favor of America. We're going to make this in favor of America. If you don't want to do that, you'll be delinquent. We won't defend you. Just so you know. That's presidential. I don't know. That's just me. Again, you guys know I got a big bias. I expose my biases. I do. I got a Trump shirt sitting right there. I'd grab it if I could. Now we're going to have Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is going to give his view of Donald Trump's potential fate. And then again, this is addressing what Brett Weinstein was talking about in terms of RFK and his life being in danger. Let's go.
And yet our government is doing it. It's like it's hard to overstate how bad this is. Can't reach that conclusion. And every single time his popularity became more popular. Now, of course, I mean, look, if they protested him, they called him names. He won anyway. They impeached him twice on ridiculous pretenses. They fabricated a lot about what happened on January 6th in order to impeach him again. It didn't work. He came back. Then they indicted him. It didn't work. He became more popular. Then they indicted him 3 more times. And every single time his popularity rose. So if you begin with criticism, then you go to protest, then you go to impeachment, now you go to indictment, and none of them work, what's next? I mean, graph it out, man. We're speeding toward assassination, obviously. And no one will say that, but I don't know how you can reach that conclusion. You know what I mean? Like, they have decided, permanent Washington, both parties have decided that there's something about Trump that's so threatening to them, they just can't have him. I mean, they're putting him on trial in March of next year in the J6 case, which basically consists of trying to send him to prison for the rest of his life for complaining about the last election. That's literally what it is. Again, if this were happening in Moldova, the State Department would issue an all-hands-on-deck order to let the world know this is not a legitimate government. And
man, so when Tucker breaks it down like that, I've said it before, but I think Trump is way more in the sights of potential harm than RFK is. Because again, the media seems to just shoo him away. The Democratic Party was like, you don't exist. We're not even acknowledging you. You see polls on MSNBC, ABC, all these major publications. They're not even showing him. Then he has to actually force himself out and become an independent. And we know what every single person on the left and the right in terms of the actual government thinks about independence. There's, I know Brett Weinstein said there's a few pathways for him to win. I'm not really seeing it. There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of hope and a big legacy. But I don't know. I just don't see it. But again, I only show that to just say, I think Trump's putting his life in danger way more, especially when he says stuff like this. Let's end it off with this.
We're going to do great tomorrow, but it's really important you get out and vote because we want to send a signal to the real hardline people, the people that are destroying our country, Joe Biden. We're going to send them a signal that we're coming. We're going to send them a big, so get out tomorrow. If you don't feel well, don't worry about it. Get up, get out. If your husband's not feeling good, darling, just get him out of bed. Don't worry about it. He'll be okay. Get out and vote. Tomorrow we're going to win this state, and then we're going to tell crooked Joe Biden, you're fired. Get out of here. You're fired.
USA. No one's playing around. Definitely not playing around. But again, taking this type of swipe at the establishment, that's going to put you in way more danger. So just wanted to show you guys that, all those clips. And then also, obviously, know what you think about this whole thing. Do you think RFK is really the guy for the job? And do you really think that he has potential of winning? Or do you think it's going to be Trump? Do you think it's going to be Biden? Do you think Biden's just going to dominate? Again, I've talked about my bias. Maybe I'm just so into my bias that I don't see that Biden's actually just steamrolling the competition, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. Let me know in the comment section. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And other than that, I'm out.